would you do if the person you trusted most with your child turned out to be the one hiding a terrifying secret? In a world where appearances deceive and kindness masks pain, one nanny's heartbreaking story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about sacrifice, love, and justice. Belinda Johnson stood frozen in the doorway of the Whittaker mansion, watching three 6-year-old boys turn the elegant living room into a war zone. Paint was splattered across the white walls, expensive furniture was overturned, and feathers from torn pillows floated through the air like snow. But what shocked her most wasn't the destruction, it was the pain in their eyes. "You can't make us like you!" screamed Tommy, the oldest triplet, hurling a toy truck at her feet. "We don't want another nanny. We want our mama." His brothers, Danny and Bobby, stood behind him like soldiers ready for battle. Their little faces were streaked with tears and dirt. They had driven away 17 nannies in 6 months, and they were determined to make Belinda number 18. But as Belinda looked at these heartbroken children, she didn't see monsters. She saw 3 little boys drowning in grief and terror, desperately trying to protect themselves from being hurt again. "I know you miss your mama," Belinda said softly, stepping carefully over the broken toys. "And I'm not here to replace her. I'm here because I think you need someone who understands what it feels like when your world falls apart." The boys stopped throwing things, surprised by her gentle words. No nanny had ever talked to them like this before. Tommy stared at her suspiciously. "You don't know anything about us." Belinda knelt down so she was at their eye level. "You're right. I don't know everything about you yet, but I know that you're scared. I know that you're angry, and I know you think if you're mean enough to me, I'll leave just like all the others did." The boys exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this. "But here's the thing," Belinda continued with a small smile. "I'm not going anywhere, and by the end of today, I'm going to show you something that will change everything." Tommy's eyes narrowed. "What?" Belinda stood up, brushing feathers off her dress. "I'm going to show you that it's okay to let someone new care about you, even when your heart is broken." Just then, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway, and the boys' faces went pale. "He's coming," Danny whispered. "Daddy's going to be so mad about the mess." But what happened next would shock everyone in that house, including the man who had spent 6 months believing his sons were impossible to reach. 6 months earlier, John Whittaker sat in his corner office on the 45th floor of Whittaker Industries, staring at his phone as it rang again. He knew it was either his assistant with another nanny crisis or the boys' school with another incident report. He was right. It was both. "Mr. Whittaker," his assistant Rebecca said when he finally answered, "I have bad news and worse news." John rubbed his temples. "Give me the bad news first." "The school called. The boys started a food fight in the cafeteria, locked their teacher in the supply closet, and refused to come out of the playground tunnel when it was time for class." John sighed deeply. "And the worst news?" "Nanny number 17 just quit. She said, and I quote, 'Those children are possessed by demons, and no amount of money is worth risking my sanity.'" John felt like his world was crumbling. 6 months ago, he had been a successful businessman with a beautiful wife and 3 happy children. Now, Sarah was gone, killed in a car accident that had shattered their family. John was drowning, trying to be both father and mother to 3 heartbroken boys who seemed determined to destroy everything around them. Rebecca, Call the nanny agency. Tell them we need someone immediately." "Sir, I already did. They're out of candidates. Word has gotten around. No one wants to work for the Whitaker family anymore." John stared out his office window. He was worth over $2 billion, but all his money couldn't fix the most important problem in his life. His sons were falling apart, and he didn't know how to help them. At 35, John had built an empire from nothing. He was brilliant and determined, but grief had changed his sons into strangers, and John felt helpless. The truth was, he was struggling with his own grief. Sarah had been his best friend, his partner, the heart of their family. Without her, John felt lost. He worked longer hours because it was easier than facing his son's accusing eyes. The boys blamed him for their mother's death, though they never said it. Sarah had been driving to pick up a surprise birthday gift for John when the accident happened. The guilt was eating him alive. "Sir?" Rebecca's voice interrupted his thoughts. "What should I do about the nanny?" "Post an ad online. Offer double the usual salary. Someone out there must be desperate enough to work with my sons." But John had no idea the person who had answered the ad would change all their lives forever. In a tiny apartment across town, 30-year-old Belinda Johnson scrolled through job listings while rain tapped at the window. She'd been out of work for 2 months. The family she used to nanny for had moved overseas. Belinda had been a nanny for 8 years. She loved working with children, but lately families wanted younger nannies with degrees and flawless resumes. What Belinda's resume didn't say was her true strength. She understood pain. Orphaned at age 7 when her parents died in a house fire, Belinda had grown up in foster care, shuffled between homes, never staying anywhere long enough to feel safe or loved. By the time she aged out of the system, Belinda could see through the emotional armor of kids. She understood that the children who acted out the most were the ones who needed love the most. When Belinda saw the Whitaker family's job post, she almost scrolled past it. The description was intense. 3 energetic boys, a challenging environment. But something about it made her pause. She did some research and found the news about Sarah Whitaker's death and the surviving triplets. Her heart ached. She knew that pain, the fear, the anger, the desperation to push people away before they could leave you. "Those boys don't need a nanny," she whispered. "They need someone who understands." Belinda spent the night crafting a heartfelt application. The next morning, John sat at home dreading the nanny interviews. Rebecca had arranged 5, but John wasn't hopeful. The first was a strict older woman. The second was a bubbly recent graduate. None of them understood trauma. Until Belinda arrived. John opened the door to a woman in her 30s, with kind brown eyes and a soft smile. She was calm, warm, and unlike anyone he'd met. In the interview, Belinda didn't brag about qualifications. She talked about growing up in foster care, about grief, about understanding pain. John felt hope for the first time in months. When Belinda said, "Your sons aren't trying to be difficult, Mr. Whitaker. They're trying to survive," he knew she was the one. She started the next morning, and everything began to change. Her kindness, her patience, her cookies, her stories, her ability to meet the boys at their level. In just one morning, she did what 17 others couldn't. She connected with them. But as they built a block castle in memory of their mother, News came that would threaten to undo it all. A scandalous story was set to air about the Whitakers, framing the boys as monsters and Belinda as their next victim. John warned her, told her she could walk away, but she stayed. "Your sons need to know they're worth fighting for," she said. That night they would watch the story together as a family and face whatever came next, united at last.